All right, we're kind of on the last corner heading into the home stretch, but we're not there yet. We got a little ways to go, but just a couple more segments, and one that's going to be due here next after we've received all of your management organization sections. It's going to be on the business description, and if you look, well, let's go through the PowerPoint first, just quickly. It's short, so it shouldn't take me too long. So you've talked a little bit about your business within the marketing plan. You gave me some description in there, right? And maybe in other places too. You've probably talked about your business, you've talked about your product, you've talked about how you're going to promote it and whatnot, but we got to get a little more detail here, and things that weren't in the marketing and whatnot, need to be in the business description. You need to, what I used to tell customers when I was in the banking business, I said, we often, they've changed their format now how they do this, but we often had to send loan requests, SBA guaranteed loan requests down to somebody. Later it became somebody in Sacramento, California, that was going to review a loan request for a business possibly in Havre, Montana. Well, what do they know about Havre, Montana? Or what do they even know about Montana, for crying out loud? Okay. And so I often told customers, and I've told students since then, is that you need to describe this, your business, your location, maybe even to the extent of the estate where it's going to be. You need to describe that to that person, okay? Not to me, okay? You need to describe it to that person as if they know nothing about this area, okay? Or, what your business is going to look like, et cetera, et cetera. So, how thorough? Okay, I don't believe you can be too thorough, right? You can't add too much detail, right? Okay, I put this up here because I've never ever deducted points because a project had too much detail, and that's all the way through the project, right? Never deducted points because it had too much research. I've never deducted points because there's too much detail in the business description. Every now and then I'll make a comment that, well, you got a little long-winded there or something, and that might be, but believe me, I won't deduct points for those types of things. However, I have often deducted points because there's too little detail. Okay, people don't. A lot of this doesn't require research. It's just going to be a good, thorough description of the business, property, the product, those things. We'll look at the outline a little bit later and kind of go through that. So, okay, when you describe the product and service, it's not necessarily just like you're doing it for a service manual or something. Okay, you can be a little bit eloquent. You can talk about what your product or service brings to the customer, right? What's going to get the customer excited about it? Okay, and I gave you some examples here, right? Rolex sells prestige. Okay, Allstate sells peace of mind. Okay, those types of things. Geico, if you go for Geico insurance instead of Allstate, what do they sell? Well, they're usually advertising themselves as being a low-cost provider, right? 15 minutes will save you 15% or more. So where's your product position? A couple things, right? Are we a low cost? Again, like Geico, okay? They're a low cost provider. Or a high-end differentiator, okay? In the insurance business, I'm not sure who that might be. Allstate, possibly. I don't know. They oftentimes in that business compete a lot on cost, but in the in the real world, Rolex would be a high-end differentiator. Okay, you don't get a little Timex or I think my watch was $11 at Walmart or something. My wife picked it up for me. Okay, so that's definitely on the low end. Okay. Also, is it a convenience good, a shopping good, or a specialty good? Right? Convenience good being those things that you stop at the convenience store and pick up. A pack of chewing gum or a six-pack of pop. Okay, shopping goods are those things that you kind of plan out ahead of time. Okay, might even be the things you get at the grocery store and whatnot. Could be shopping goods, but TVs, computers, etc. You shop around for a little bit, right? And then specialty goods are those things that fit a niche. A mountain bike. Yeah, not something everybody's going to get, right? So what's your product, right? Or service, and services can fit in there as well. Okay, competitive evaluation, right? How do you stack up? But again, this is a spot where you went into detail about this. You should have on your marketing plan. Okay, so you don't need to go at length here. Okay, when you're just talking about the your strategy a little bit and how your product fits, what category it fits in. That's kind of fine, right? Future products and services, though, you're going to be adding to your product line or service later. Everybody should answer yes. Okay. Most of us aren't starting a business with the intent of never growing it, and certainly we want to grow it, maybe with the products and services that we have to offer. But generally speaking, we're going to need to or want to add some different things, to the menu, for lack of a better term, right? Okay, so most of us should answer a yes to that. Detail, detail, detail. This gets into the location and I say sometimes you can go inside out or outside in, and what I mean by that is it'd be okay to say either, hey, my business is going to be in the great state of Montana. Montana is the fourth largest state area-wide, with a small population of just over 1 million people. It's the Rocky Mountains to the west, to the Great Plains on the east. And you can talk about the state a little bit, a good paragraph or two maybe, you talking about the state. And my business is going to be located in Havre, Montana, which is in the very north central part of the great state of Montana. It's 44 miles, south of the Canadian border. It's on the roadway to Glacier National Park. It's home to the largest county-owned park in the nation, right? I'm only touching the surface of the types of descriptions that you can put in there, okay? And that's starting from the state, say I'm going down city, and then I get down to, and my business is going to be at the corner of 3rd Avenue and 4th Street. It's surrounded by, and there's parking out front. There's a parking lot just down the road where more people can park. Okay, that type of information, and then to the inside, right? I got 1,200 square feet. At the front of it, is my counter and my cash register, and then I've got some seats and on and on and on. Okay, again, I'm just touching the surface, and I went on for a little bit and gave you quite a bit of what should be in everybody's business description when it comes to the location. Okay, and that would be outside in. Inside out would be taking the opposite direction. My business is 1,200 square foot. You talk about that first. You get to the location of it, the town that it's in, maybe the county, the surrounding area. You'd be remiss if you're in Havre, right? The city of Havre is a decent part of your trade area, but you're going to get a lot of business from outside communities. Big Sandy's going to come up here, Chinook, especially Rocky Boy, Fort Belknap. You need to talk about those maybe other communities, the High Line, that would come up and also do business in Havre, right? So I kind of give you that here, what I've already talked about a little bit. Okay. So how much detail about the business? Right down to the type of broadband connection. Are you going to have his and her bathrooms, or just one or the other? And you may not have, you may be working from your home. Should you give us a description of your home? Yeah, to a certain extent, right? How are you going to decorate it? Yeah, put posters on the wall, but how else is it going to be decorated, right? Is it going to be, if you go to Wolfer's downtown, it's kind of in a 50s style. The Oxford Sports Bar, I'm not sure what kind of style you'd say that. The neo old-fashioned bar, I don't know, smoky bar or something like that. Pictures, could you give me pictures of what it's going to look like? Sure. or what it does look like? Could you do it? Could you put a map on there, Google Maps or whatever, and zero down and point out where it's going to be in the city of Havre, say? Sure. Town again. I think Lake Wobegon, and I say that because it's an old radio show that was on, and Garrison Keillor was the guy that put it on, and he was eloquent, far more eloquent than I'll ever be, but he described Lake Wobegon as where all the women are strong, all the men are good looking, and all the children are above average, and it was a fictional town. But it's okay. I'm saying that it's okay to talk about your town where your business is going to be located using that type of eloquence, but also get down to the facts. It's a town of 10,000 people, right? It's again, you'd be remiss if you didn't say that Highway 2 runs through Havre on the way to Glacier National Park. Okay, you'd be remiss if you didn't tell us that Amtrak comes through Havre carrying passengers from Minneapolis to Seattle and vice versa, right? Things that you ought to consider, and here they are. That's kind of talking about it. Access to public transportation. On the other hand, flights in and out of Havre are a little tough, although we do have the essential air service. What is it, Great Lakes it's called now, or something like that. Availability of suppliers. Okay, that could be important for you. Availability of utilities. Good, right? Availability of workforce. Okay. Here again, depending on the type of business that you're going to have, what's Havre have? Well, it's got MSU Northern, okay, putting out workforce. If you were a plumber, electrician, we're putting those out. Welding, right? Okay, so there's going to be a readily available workforce and trained, right, in this town. Physical plants, what other things that are available? Water, if necessary, things like that, right? Which also includes community services and the amenities, okay? Don't forget to talk about the amenities. You want to make this an attractive place to that lender or investor that's looking at it. Again, you'd be remiss if you're talking about Hill County and you don't mention Beaver Creek Park, the biggest county park, I believe, in the United States. Location of competitors, where they're at. Some of your competitors might be online, right? That's fine. You can talk about that. Okay. The parking facilities, your proximity to markets, who you're going to sell to. If you've got an online business, that's a whole different story then, right? You need to describe that then in much greater detail. Okay. Can you expand where you're at? What are the taxes like? How about traffic? Traffic can be a negative if there's too much traffic sometimes. Transportation, kind of talked about that, but maybe in this case it's talking more about the transportation for your goods and services. If you're shipping them out, a lot of you may not. Rates, transportation rate, wage scales. We've got a fairly low wage scale in Hill County. Oh, there you go, Garfield. So let's take a look at where this falls under in the template, right? So you got the general company description and the products and services. So it's 5 and 6, but this gives you some pretty good stuff to kind of take a look at, right? It goes along with and kind of fits in with some of the things that I just told you, right? What business will you be in? What are you going to do? Again, describe it in terms of what a customer may be looking for. Mission statement. Should you have a mission statement? I think a mission statement is important. I've had some people turn in, because they've written a really good mission statement, they've turned in their project, and that's on the cover page, their mission statement, right? Excellent. Love it. Okay. The company's goals and objectives you can certainly talk about. The philosophy, what's important to you. If you're big into treating your employees well, that could be a part of your philosophy. If you're into keeping your costs way down, that could be a part of your philosophy. If you're into making a quality product and meeting the demands of the customer, perfect, right? Okay, I kind of bolded this and underlined it here because otherwise it just sits in there and it's kind of in the middle and it looks small, but a detailed description of the business premises and its location. And that was a lot of what I talked about, okay? And you might have missed it, and so I wanted to really make sure I emphasized that's you got to do that, right? To whom you're going to market your product, again, you're just stating it briefly here, a sentence or two, because you've got that. It should be thoroughly covered in your marketing plan. Describe the industry, kind of same thing. You should have talked about that probably in the marketing section to a greater detail, but you can sure describe it here, right? Your company core strengths and competencies. Again, you did that when you probably did a SWOT analysis of some sort. Okay, and mention what your legal form of ownership is, and that's going to be really important as well. And you did a certain amount of that. You probably did that in some detail again in the management organization portion. Okay, why did you select that? Of course, a lot of that again might be in the management organization, but you should at least mention it there. And then the products and services, right? Describe in depth. And again, you certainly do the technical part of it, so you got to do both. It's okay to give us a good technical description of those things, but then also give us that from the customer's point of view. What's going to be important for them? What's going to give you, again, that competitive advantage or disadvantage? So what's the difference? Up here I talked about that. Well, is there a competitive advantage or disadvantage in the business's location versus in the product or service that you're offering, right? And then the pricing, fee, leasing, however you're actually marketing your product, how's that set up? So, it's only two parts of two pages and short pages for the outline here, but it's a really important part, and this allows you again to get into some detail actually describing this so that somebody will recognize it when they first see it if they've never seen it before. There you go, business description. I got her in less than 20 minutes anyhow.